Hey everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. Today I'm going to do update 29. I know I always say this, but this is going to be a very short one, I hope. And not much has taken place out here. I've done a lot of work, but it doesn't look like I've done any work. I guess maybe that's the way I feel every time. Maybe you feel like that when you're working on your layout. I don't know. But it seems like you do a lot of stuff. You spend a lot of time out here, and it just doesn't seem like there's a lot to show for it. But let me take you around and show you what I've been up to. Okay, in the past, I have always said that I wanted a mine up here at the top. And I pretty much decided on that mine. That was the last one I did on the other layout. If you remember, it was in the loop over here on the right-hand side of the door. I've decided to reuse it. It's all lighted and all that. It seems to fit in there nicely, and I'm gonna zoom in on it here in a minute. But those little Santa Fe cars that you see way down there, you've seen them in other videos. Here in New Mexico, they use those for potash. And I've done a little bit of investigating. I have some people comment back to me and so forth on potash mines, and I've done a little looking lately. And potash is a subsurface element in most cases. So they go down in the ground to get it. So this, and I don't know whether, I've seen a lot of pictures of different ones, none really of the era that I'm modeling, the 50s and 60s. Most of it's modern stuff. However, I think that this could be a potash mine building and potash loading facility. So that's what it's going to be here. I haven't really considered what the name of it will be, and it's not important right now. But one thing that I've noticed that they always have at a potash mine that when I've looked on Google and so forth is a derrick or a mine head to lower miners down into the mine and lower equipment down into the mine. So what I did, and let me try and zoom in a little. I went to Google, and the first thing I did, and I know it doesn't look like it matches very well because there's a cloud behind there. First thing I did was copy, I printed off a picture that I had taken of the layout and my backdrop up here. Then I took and got my finger's kind of fat in here, but right in this area you see it's a little bit on the blue side, and up at the top maybe right. I got off the picture, I got that color in Photoshop. Then I photoshopped in that color in all of that rigging and stuff you see in that actual photograph of a mine head. I printed them out in several different sizes, and I was not real happy with some of the larger ones because I thought they looked like they were too close, too big. So I wound up with that size right there and printed it out, then cut it out, and then glued it to the backdrop. And actually that's a lie. I made one first, got it cut out, went to hold it up back there to see how it was going to fit, and dropped it down behind the backdrop. And I couldn't retrieve it, so I had to go and print another one, and which is not as easy as it sounds, because once I printed it, I took the printer paper and I sprayed it with Tester's dull coat front and back, so that when I put glue on it to stick it up there, it didn't curl up and wither and all the colors run and all that stuff. So as you can see here, and I can try and zoom in a little more on it, it's very small, it's only a couple inches tall. But you can see that the picture turned out real well, printed right on copy paper, and then done sprayed with dull coat, put on there. And then for the lines going down to the winch house, I just used a ruler and a pencil, and it's a little bit on the heavy side, but when you stand back, if I go back, it gives you the idea that those go down to a winch house. Then I decided if you got a winch house, I noticed in most mines they had a steam-powered or something of that nature hoist. So hence the smokestack there. And I'm going to put some smoke coming out of it onto the backdrop whenever I get that far. But when I back up, you can see the relative size of that stuff compared to the mine building itself. So the mine entrance is basically on the other side of the hill there. Most of that masonite backdrop will be covered up with foreground hills. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out. And as you guys know, I'm never sure how stuff is going to turn out. Okay, as I have said, to me it looks like it gives credence to the fact that the mine itself is on the other side of the hill and that it's transported by conveyor over to this processing building and then ultimately loading into the hopper cars here. There's also a tower there for loading trucks. Let me swing around here and I'll tell you what the idea is there. Okay, here you can see how the conveyors are going to be situated in the mine. One is going to go through the hill. The theory is that they've made a cut through the hill there to put the conveyor through to the other side to put the put the raw material into it, bring it over to this building. Okay, so and then it goes up. It would go up this near one here and into some truck loading, as well as the rail loading over here. My idea here is that if I have any kind of truck loading of byproduct and stuff, the byproduct is going to go out a road right here, and the road is going to go over that little hill and disappear between the plaster and the masonite hill there. Take off away from the layout, in other words. So that's the thinking up there. I'm going to take the camera up there and show you. I've kind of rearranged that track a little bit to fit that building. So let me take you up there real quick and then we'll move on. Okay, so right in here I had to put in a sharper curve here. I think those are 11s, and then go back straight. And then I think I put in a 19 here, and it just got me the gap in between. These tracks are not even because I've got the end of the track down here sitting on plaster, and I've got to scrape some of that away before I can line those tracks up. But pretty much that's the way the mine building will sit, and I will, now that I know that and I can get the building marked out on the plaster there, then I can go ahead and start building the 3D backdrop along here. That's the next chore. So anyway, that's the track layout in the mine area. Hope you enjoy that. Let me move down and show you some other stuff. Okay, in the previous videos I had some of this plastering up on top done, some down here on the bottom not. I don't remember if I had this big rock outcropping here on the previous video on 28. But anyway, I have this big rock cropping and it sticks up a ways because I wanted the train to pass behind it. It's there again, another little view block. Not much of one, but just enough. And you can see that my little number 2 switch indicator is behind that. I may have to rotate that somewhat so that other folks can see it. You can see that I've got plaster in around my cribbing here. I've also put in a whole poop load of rock castings. Some of them got covered up with some of the plaster a little bit, but it's to give the impression that this is all one big gigantic rock outcropping here and that they had to blast through to get down to this point. So if I back up here a little bit, and I know it's all odd colored, and there goes our same old train again, but it's all odd colored, but eventually those rocks will all be the same color going down into the reddish orange color down there, as well as the scenery itself. But I have all the base plastering done there with the exception of back by the mine, and I'm probably going to try and do that mine area before I start any coloring of all this stuff out here. Now the only other thing I have to show you is down here on the far end. I have done nothing on the scenic end down here except run trains through it, but I'll just leave you with one last thing. Okay, there goes our train. What I haven't had before, and I know it all looked the same to you guys, but I had no plaster from about here. I had plaster cloth, but no plaster around to about there. And some of the back side of this was not plastered yet. And what I had been doing is waiting, and when I mixed up plaster to go around the rocks and so forth, I would take whatever excess I had and go a little bit further. But now, essentially, all this is in plaster all the way around, all the way down to there. So basically all the background scenery down to this point. Obviously not back here. I haven't joined the lake in yet. But I know it doesn't seem like it, but I am making progress. The mine is something I had to get out of the way first. So we're gonna continue to work on that. That will probably be update 30 when I get that done up there. Not necessarily done, but at least to the point where I can update you on what's happening there. Just a quick glance around the layout since I'm up here. Nothing extravagant, nothing different than you have seen in the past. I have had to move some cars out here and store them out here in the incoming track for the lower. Oh, I did have one more thing. I did put some track over here, one single siding, and I parked some cars on it, and what I've decided to do is put a low relief industry in there of some kind. I don't know what yet, but I did wind up putting some track in there just to see if that was all going to fly, and wound up hooking a feeder up to that track and got that all set up. So that's about it for today. Doggone, I was gonna do the ending to the video, and then it happened to dawn on me. This is something that I saved. I believe it's a USA Trains Santa Fe caboose in G scale, and I will just briefly tell you why it's there. Because I tore up all the G scale in the backyard, and I put it on Craigslist and sold it in 15 minutes, all of it together. So yes, I took a lot less for it than I paid for it, obviously, but I'm hauling it up to Albuquerque to a gentleman up there and dumping it off, not this week, but the following week. And all of that will be out of the backyard, and I won't have that stuff sitting out there rotting for another 12 years. I'm kind of happy to get rid of it, actually. I never really enjoyed the G scale. It was always too hot, too cold, too windy, too dusty, too something, too buggy. Something was going on, so I never really enjoyed it. The kids played with it for a while, but anyway, I rescued that caboose, and it's now living up there. Okay, everybody, hope you enjoyed update 29, and I know it's pretty boring to me. I can't wait to start getting some more color out here. When I get to the point of color and ground cover, I really get hyped up about it, but right now in the white stage, it's just pretty kind of boring. But once I get this back done and get over there and start working on the lake and get that out of the way, I'm really looking forward to getting buildings in and doing this lower part. That's my next goal, and it's probably going to be several videos away, several weeks away. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it today, and as usual, guys, thanks for watching.